This is Darryl Anders, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
Yes, indeed. Darryl Anders is a songwriter, bassist, and a band leader for Agape Soul, and he's been on the show a few times. Darryl, thanks for gracing the show once again. You're here today to promote a song that you are dropping tomorrow. Yeah, thanks. And the song's called Bulletproof.
Got a brand new song called Bulletproof.
Yeah. Yes. I appreciate the song. It's terrific. And
thank you.
If any of our listeners are not aware of what you do, first of all, you can count on the quality to be top notch. And so we appreciate that about your work every single time. But this song is especially poignant right now.
Thank you.
Even though it has a timeless quality. Tell us about the inspiration of the song.
Wasn't done enough. And then when the George Floyd thing happened, that just took me out. And I'm like, I got to finish this song. So I finished the lyrics, and then I reached out to a good friend of mine who's also a bass player and a songwriter from Memphis, Jackie Clark. And he wrote the music, and we put it together, and it came together, and I'm really happy with the end result.
So has Jackie Clark been a part of the song since its inception for the last album, or?
I can't hear you now.
Oh, very interesting. How about now? I don't know what I did. I'm not doing anything. We're having some StreamYard issues today. So if you can't hear me, I'm going to keep talking until you can hear me. Except that I don't want to ask any important questions and have you miss them.
Can't hear you at all.
Oh, wow. Well, I will say this for our audience, because our listeners who are in there, yeah, you're crackling too.
I can't hear anything.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what to do about that. We're having some technical difficulties here. Darryl can't hear me. He'll come back, I'm sure. We can see you. But go ahead and pull the, well, if he can't hear me, he can't hear what I'm going to suggest to him. So anyway, here, I'm going to send Darryl a text. Bear with us, everybody. We're on StreamYard, and StreamYard is typically really, really stable and very good. But right now having some issues. So give me a second, because I'm going to text Darryl. And let's see what's going on. Now, maybe if he bounces off and bounces back in, that'll be good too. In the meantime, I'll tell you about this song. He sent me.
There you go.
How about that?
All right, there you go.
So anyway, back to the song. Before we had these technical difficulties, you were talking about how the song was coming together and how Jackie's involvement began.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I wrote the lyrics, and I had an idea that I wanted the song to be kind of like an anthem, but also leave people feeling a sense of hope. So I was listening to stuff like Marvin Gaye, and I didn't want to just take those songs, but I wanted to kind of still have that kind of feel to the music.
Okay.
So Jackie did a great job of capturing that, but creating something different.
Yeah. When it comes to songs that have social commentary, I mean, you're definitely not a stranger to writing songs that are about deeply heartfelt sentiments and subject matter that, can be sensitive. But when it comes to something that's this timely, and yet somehow also timeless when it comes to the, the melody and the feeling of the music itself. When you're looking at influences like Marvin Gaye and the greats, what do you seek there, and what are you looking to gain by touching those influences?
For me, music is all about what it makes you feel. You can write a great melody, a groove that makes you dance or whatever, but if it doesn't make you feel whatever it is that you're trying to get across, it's failed to me. So with this song, I wanted people to feel the intensity of the words, but I also wanted it to, I didn't want to hit them over the head with it. I wanted them to listen to it and think about it and feel it. And the chorus is especially important. You know, you can kill the man, but you can't kill the message. Ignore the obvious, staring at the proof, but justice is blind, but love is invincible, and the truth is always bulletproof. So I wanted the lead singer to be able to be free and expressive as how he phrased that. So I asked Sarah to really drive that chorus home in the background vocals, and that's what she does. She creates great arrangements that just stick with you, and that became a hook in and of itself. So
yeah. And so that's Singing Sarah, and
yep.
and everybody in the Bay Area is likely to be familiar with her, but you know, we'll put in the show notes links to her website as well, because she's local and she's terrific, and you can catch her around. What about who else was on the record?
Her sister Lynette is playing keys.
Okay.
My go-to. I had Thomas McCree on drums. I've worked with him a lot this last year, and Errol Cooney is my favorite guitar guy. So I use the it's kind of a family, and you try to get the guys that you feel are gonna play what's in my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I'll try other stuff and it doesn't work. Like I tried a couple different singers and they were all great and they all did amazing stuff, but it didn't hit me the way I wanted. And I remember saying to my wife, like, oh, I should have asked Tommy Sims to do it. Tommy would be great on this song.
Yeah.
And I was already committed to another singer, and then that actually didn't pan out. So I called Tommy, and he said he'd be honored to do it. And you know, Tommy's a guy, you just send him the song and you wait for him to send it back to you, and it's just brilliant, you know.
Wow. Well, he's worked with a lot of greats. He's been around for a long time. He's where is he? Is he in Nashville?
I think he's between Nashville and Florida, but he's still busy making music and producing and writing, and just, you know, he's one of my serious mentors. So even to have him on the song is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And when a guy like that says he likes your song, it's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. You share the bass too in common. Who played the bass on this record? Was that you or him?
No, that was me.
Okay.
I would have been happy to let Tommy play bass on it, but you know, I needed to do something.
Yeah, if our listeners want to look up Tommy Sims, he's played with a lot of Nashville greats, and he stays super busy at an ultra pro level. So it's great to have him on, and it's great to have his voice there. In terms of the song, there's a link on the bottom of the page, and if you guys want to go to that link, until 10 o'clock tonight, and it's a little after 7 right now, but until 10 o'clock tonight, if you sign up for the Agape Soul mailing list, Darryl will give you a download of the song Bulletproof for free.
Yeah. This song is really, I want to get the message out, and I want to, you know, I know sometimes I can get super just invested in what's going on, and it just like everybody, this stuff, it affects all our lives in different ways. And my whole thing about it is silence is not an option, and if you feel something, you got to say something. You gotta be a part of making things better. And I just want to be on the right side of history, because no matter what you do or don't do, you're going to be judged accordingly. So I hope when everything's said and done, people can say, you know, I tried to do something to make the world better, or, you know, make people's lives better.
I appreciate you saying those words, but those of us who have listened to you for any length of time realize that those are guiding principles that are not something you're exercising today. They're on all the records that you make. So is there something special about this one in particular that I mean, obviously the timing, but because this was a song that was almost made it onto your last album. This has been on your mind for a while.
Well, unfortunately, this situation that we find ourselves in is not new. I think it's new to some people,
right?
Because you have 24-hour news cycles, you have video phones, so some people are experiencing things that others of us have experienced our whole lives. So now that window is open, is a perfect opportunity to say, hey, this is happening. We got to do something about this. We got to, we got to love each other. All of this, and I believe me, I understand the anger. I understand the frustration. I got all of that too. But, we got to find a way somehow at the end of the day to get back to loving each other and being on the same page. And some people, that may not be possible, but we got to at least try.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that sentiment. I have people in my life who, feel different emotions about it and have different experiences. And for everybody, I think a topic that is sensitive is a little more approachable if it's surrounded in good music.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that will first speak to somebody, and then the message will permeate and they'll get something from it. I just want to have this playing all the time so that I have friends and family members engage in discussions. What do you think about creating some discomfort? I mean, do you, are you yeah, good.
Because sometimes the being uncomfortable is the very thing that makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
Could
be a starting point.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's the start of the conversation. And the other thing, to me, the most important part of this song is, Bulletproof is a metaphor for, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you say, the truth is the truth. You can have your version of what you think happened in the situation, you can have your opinion, you can have how it makes you feel, but truth is truth, no matter where you personally feel about it. And at some point, people have to recognize that 1 and 1 is always going to equal 2. You know what I mean? So, when I say, love is invincible and the truth is always bulletproof, that what I'm saying is, love's always going to win out no matter what. It might be painful. People lose their lives behind it, but in the end, love always wins out, and the truth is always going to be the truth. And the things that get buried and the lies that people tell, they always come out. They may not come when you want. It may not be the most convenient time, but it always comes out.
There's a line in one of the verses where you talk about tools of disinformation for the easily deceived. And that's one of the things that I think is going to, I don't want to speculate, but it seems like that's an opportunity for discomfort for some people, because the first thing is the message. But when somebody feels like they're being called easily deceived, they get defensive and they put up, some obstacles, and maybe they're not thinking quite as clearly at a moment when they're feeling attacked that way. I think that the courageousness of the lyrics, the directness of the lyrics, hopefully get through to some people and make some people think about things because they're so attracted to the music. That's what I'm hopeful for. Was that deliberate?
Yes. And I remember the moment that lyric popped into my head. I was driving my car, and I was talking to my friend George Franklin, who's another bass player songwriter from the band GTF. I was talking to him, and we were talking about something that was going on in the news that day, and I said, "Yeah, it's like tools of disinformation," and the light went off. I was like, got to remember that. So, because there's so many things that are clearly, and I don't want to get into this, but there's so many things that are clearly not true. But when people say them over and over again, eventually people forget to question them, or they just go, okay, yeah, whatever, I've heard that. And you hear it so much, you start to believe it. You start to accept it. So, and it doesn't mean that the person's not smart. It doesn't mean that the person's bad, but at the same time, you're responsible to dig deep enough to find what's really going on, because some things that I might want to happen aren't necessarily the best or right, but truth is always going to be truth.
You keep coming back to that.
Because that's important,
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with my wife at dinner, and we were talking about the Breonna Taylor thing, and that's one of the things about this song that's so frustrating to me. I wrote it about a particular set of events. But every day there's another event that directly correlates to it.
Every day.
You had a woman, an innocent Black woman, get shot in her house multiple times, and they placed more value on the drywall of the neighbor's house than her life. Okay, yeah, they gave her family $12 million. That is not going to bring her back. But the people who murdered her, only one of them was charged, and he was charged for shooting a wall across the next house. So when people say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying they matter more than blue lives. We're not saying they matter more than white lives. We're not saying they matter more than all this. We're saying we actually matter. It's like we just want to be in the game. We want to
just acknowledge, yeah,
consideration.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have to say it is the point at all.
That's right.
Now I've had so many conversations with people that I grew up with, people that I thought were my friends, people that I almost consider family, that it's like, wow, they didn't understand the concept, and stuff has been going on for so long that it's not, you can't just blow it off. You can't just pretend everything's okay. Every day I get in my car to go someplace, I know that could be my last day, just because I'm a Black man driving a nice car in America. Somebody might see that and not dig it, and
not be okay with it. Yep.
I kept somebody on the wrong day, and it's the fact that I have to think about that is why people are angry.
Yeah.
So,
well, and all the people who insist on downplaying the sentence that Black Lives Matter, the sentiment that Black Lives Matter, and the well, I heard a pretty nice explanation, which was to say that broccoli is a vegetable. And just stating that broccoli is a vegetable doesn't make a Brussels sprout any less of a vegetable. It doesn't make any of the other vegetables angry or jealous. And if for us to fail to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter is really akin to that. It's akin to saying that because you acknowledge that broccoli is a vegetable, that's going to make a different vegetable somehow less of a vegetable. And it's just really kind of silly.
But it's based in fear. It's based in fear.
Yes.
Well, wait a minute. If we acknowledge these people and we say that they have value, are they going to ask us for more? we're not asking for more. We're asking for even.
For the same, yeah.
You know, I don't want more than anybody else, but don't devalue my life, or don't devalue. We shouldn't devalue anybody's life, really.
Yeah.
But clearly, you know, like I said, 1 and 1 always equals 2.
Yeah.
Clearly, Black lives are not valued the same way. When you do the math, it's always going to come out, you know, and prove that point.
Yeah. We've seen example after example after example.
You know, I'm trying to do a video for this song, and the problem is there's too much content.
Yeah.
There's too much, and I also want to balance the video so that it's not just the stuff that's painful and hurtful. I hope that at the end of the song, people feel a sense of hope and a sense of, you know, this is going to be better, you know, because love wins, and, you know, it's going to work out.
I hope the same. And I know that when I listened to the song, I was deeply touched. And then at the end, some hope washed over me. So I hope that others feel the same way. But I also feel like the same people who, whose minds aren't quite as open, may not feel that way. And Doug, our frequent listener, Doug, said somebody said that it's easier to fool someone than to convince someone that they have been fooled. And that is also rooted in some level of fear, some level of, the person feeling unimportant or unworthy, and that just, awakening that fear. I also want to acknowledge that I've had the good fortune to have grown up in, I grew up in Vallejo. I grew up in what was essentially a Black neighborhood. I have found myself steeped in African-American culture and the beneficiary of African-American influence on my musical taste and musical upbringing. And still, as much as I have, learned history and had some of my deepest, dearest friendships with African-American families, I've never had to walk around in Black skin. And so while I can relate to all of the things that are in the struggle, I can never say that I know what it's like to get in my car and have that same sentiment if the lights come on behind me. And, it's something that I think many of us who are in my situation, where I can say, hey, man, I am an appreciator of African-American culture. I hope I'm not an appropriator, but if there is an appropriator, it's probably me. I love a lot of Black cultural things, grew up around them. So like I said, I've been the beneficiary.
Appropriating and appreciating.
But yeah, I mean, but I'm the first to acknowledge that, that I've never been pulled over and been wearing Black skin when I was pulled over. I've never had that experience and could not. And I think we should also acknowledge those of us who, have grown up in the experience, with the experience close by, or grew up in urban neighborhoods, or, however you want to categorize it. We also need to all say, hey, man, I want to support all of this conversation with and about my Black brothers and sisters, but I can't come from that point of view. Do you think that's appropriate? What do you think about people like me who, love Black music, love Black art? I just don't want to be a thief, man. That's where I'm coming from.
There's nothing wrong with appreciating and loving the culture. It doesn't make you an appropriator. When you start doing things like changing the way you talk and just your, when I hear people who fake, black speak. It's annoying.
Yeah.
You know, that's not really how you talk. You grew up in the suburbs in a white neighborhood. That's not how you talk when you're with your family. You know, it's like I'm not going to go around talking like a newscaster.
Right.
You know, that's not who I am. But you know, I will say this: I appreciate people like you who are not afraid to speak up, to speak out, and to just not be silent. You know,
Yeah.
I know so many people are like, yeah, you know, I don't want to get involved, and you know, I feel bad about it, but it's not, you know, maybe it's not what you think. That's not true, you
Yeah.
know. And I've recently been made keenly aware who my real friends are, and sometimes it's surprising in both ways. I had a guy. I posted something on Facebook, and he tried to bait me into a conversation. And I thought, let me take a breath before I respond to this. And before I could really get that thought in my head, one of my friends lit him up. It's like, why would you say that to Darryl? You have no idea who he is, and you're trying to come at him with some BS. It's like, you know, just take your redneckery elsewhere. And he didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. You know,
It made it so you didn't have to do it.
I was perfectly capable of lighting him up myself, but
Sure.
he took it upon himself, and he took it farther than I would have. You know, so, and then you know, I have other friends that are just so far the other way. I can't talk to them. You know, I'm not going to write them off as human beings, but it's like I can't have that negativity and hostility in my life. You know, you can't tell me you love my music and you hate my life. Those two don't equate to me. You know, if you're a big fan of my music or the fact that I play bass or whatever, but my life is not of any value to you, then we're not cool, and we're not ever going to be cool. So,
wow. Well, you know, I appreciate your good counsel on this, because I find myself in a situation where, you know, I have, like everybody else, and definitely like you, I've found myself in these, you know, I've tried not to engage folks with negative energy on social media. And I try very hard to just avoid it. But like you said, sometimes you got to speak up, and sometimes enough is enough. And sometimes you see your friends, you know, taking a load of BS about something, and it's really tough to take, man. It's tough to hear. So I'm glad that your friend took it upon himself to light somebody up. What do you think is the way out of all of this? I mean, where do you think the finish line is? I understand, and I definitely appreciate that, you know, if somebody doesn't value your life but wants you to entertain them, that you can't be cool about that, and that, you won't ever be cool about that, you know. But how does humanity survive this thing, and how do we come out of the other side?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And part of what makes this so difficult is it's not new at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I was telling somebody recently, I grew up in Florida. I grew up in the South.
Okay. Where in Florida?
St. Petersburg.
Okay.
The head of the Klan is in St. Lucie, Florida, which is an hour and a half away from where I grew up.
Yeah.
I've had crosses burned in my yard.
Wow.
You know, parents' house. I've been chased down the street by people. So,
by the way, as the South goes, St. Petersburg is nice.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, right. I mean, it's not one of those places where there are, volumes of news stories from the civil rights movement about how they had to march on St. Petersburg because things were so bad there specifically. Although it is still the South.
It's still the South, and St. Pete and Tampa. They're fairly large cities, but you go outside the city and it's a whole different vibe. But I grew up in Florida, and I experienced some things that I thought had gotten a lot better. I moved to California. California is a much different vibe than it is in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Racism still exists. It's still very real here. It generally took a different tone. It had a different face. It was more like someone would not give you a job or not rent you an apartment, but smile in your face. Now, they'll call the cops on you for having a barbecue or trying to sell water to people at a baseball game.
Yeah.
So in the last 4 years, I feel like we've gone back 50 years. And the reason for that is pretty clear. You've given license and you've given voice to all these people who may have had feelings like that all along. But, it's okay to not be nice to people anymore. And that's a hard thing for me. I want to be nice to people. But, I find it even, we haven't had a gig for a long time now, but I realized for the last year or so, it was really difficult for me at gigs to go up and talk to people because I didn't know if they were going to feel threatened by me just saying, "Hey, did you have a good time? Did you enjoy the music?" Because now it's someone's fear or uncomfort can cause them to have a reaction. And because they were fearful, my life instantly has no value.
Yeah.
So I have to watch what I say and watch what I do. It's really not a comfortable place because I don't want to put myself in a position because if I get angry, it's going to be all bad.
Yep.
Because I can't be angry because I'm a large Black man. I'm threatening just because.
Yep.
Society says I'm a threatening person. I don't talk loud. That's on purpose. Because if I talk loud, that's being perceived as threatening. So I try to be, soft-spoken most of the time. So it's just it's a crazy crazy time. But I also want to say this song it's important and it's got an intense message, but I still believe that goodness is in most people, if not all people, somehow, some way. And I don't want this to be all that I am. Like this song took a lot out of me, and I'm happy to say I'm writing some really great, more pop R&B kind of tunes that I think are going to make people feel good because I want people to think and be responsible for what's going on in their lives, but I also want people to feel good at the end of the day. So
I appreciate you enduring this conversation with us because you're a really easy guy to talk to. We've had a lot of conversations and they've all been really easy to have. And this one is difficult. Yeah. And the difficulty of the conversation, I definitely pick up. So I appreciate you sticking it out with us. But yes, I imagine this song took a lot out of you. And I imagine just the release of the song and reactions that everybody has are going to take a lot out of you. I hope the reactions also bring you a lot of reward, and bring a lot of people to a place where they can have some dialogue and have some and think.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you said about your recent experience at shows has it's really interesting to me, because you always have in all of my experiences, you don't have a show that just attracts one type of audience. It's always a multicultural, age groups all over the place, multiracial. Everybody's there. Everybody has a good time, even though, you write songs about love and heartbreak and mourning. And, you also write songs about joy and happiness. And so it's a show that isn't one kind of show where anybody would look around and have any reason to be uncomfortable. It's also grown folks music. So, when people are there, they're surrounded by folks you think will have aged out of misbehavior or any kind of behavior that would make anybody uncomfortable. So it's kind of heartbreaking to hear that.
Well, ignorance doesn't have an expiration date.
That's also unfortunate.
So,
yeah.
And, I will say that I haven't had, that's not true either. I think sometimes people's nervousness makes them say things that maybe they think they're being funny, or maybe they think they're being clever, but it comes off as insensitive or whatever. And I'm not gonna have a confrontation in the moment, because that's not what I'm there for. I'm more likely to walk away, because like I said, if I get angry, then I'm on the news.
Right.
It doesn't matter what provoked me or what.
That's not what makes it to the news.
And I am determined to outsmart you in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate that my mother told me at a very early age, never let people know what you're thinking all the time.
Wow.
Knowledge is power. So I didn't understand it at the time, but those words still are burned in my brain right now.
Yeah. With regard to the songs that you're writing now and the direction that you're moving in at this point, I feel like you've gotten this song out, and hopefully you get some respite and you can write more songs about happiness. Do you think that you have that in you in the near future, or are we still dealing with this stuff to the point where you have more to say?
I feel like there's more of this that I can talk about if I choose to.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't want this to become who I am. I don't want it to be all that I am. I should say that. I'm always going to write songs about important things. Voice of Reason on my very first record. There's always Conversations on the last record. There's always going to be a song where I need people to think, and that's just who I am. But at the end of the day, my goal is to make people feel good, no matter how they felt when they got there. I want them to leave feeling a little bit better. I'm blessed to have friends literally all over the world, and I want to make new friends. I want to make I want people to feel good. That's why we do this. It's clearly not about money.
Well, sometimes that good feeling comes from the fact that you thought about and you learned something. So I hope people get are touched that way, and maybe can have some dialogue with their friends and the people they trust and love
Sure.
So, okay. Now this piece of work is released as a single. Are you going to put it on your next album?
I am going back and forth as to what I'm going to do about that. I've got like 3 or 4 songs kind of ready to go in line to release as singles. I may do a whole album and include those songs on the album, or I may do an EP. I haven't quite decided yet. Because the other thing is, now that we clearly can't play live, making an album is kind of pointless. Because you can't go to gigs, you can't sell albums, so singles people can readily appreciate, and you can just keep making. Yeah, because if I make an album, let's say I put out 2 singles from the album, the other 7 to 8 songs are just kind of lost in the wind if people just, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things I'm considering, but I don't know, we'll see. I want to tell a funny story that happened today.
All right, please.
So I said I have friends all over the world, and I got an email this morning from a friend of mine, Lynn Taylor. She's a DJ in the UK, and she became a fan of my music when the first record came out.
The UK, for our listeners, by the way, loves Darryl Anders.
I don't know. God bless him. Yeah, and I love them too. They really appreciate the music. There's something really special. Like when you play over there, you feel like the people are completely invested in what you're doing, and they really get it.
Yeah.
So I sent Lynn a copy of the record because she's one of those fans that's been around from the beginning. And she sent me an email this morning. She goes, "Hey, I meant to tell you, I saw this singer a while back. She was singing with, I don't know, it was Rashawn Patterson or Lettersey or somebody, but she's really good. She goes by the name Singing Sarah. I don't know her real name, but she's really great. And I think you guys would make a great collaboration." I was just like, "Oh, really?"
She said that after you sent her the song?
Well, she had no idea. Sarah's been on most of the songs I've recorded, and she had no idea. But the fact that she heard Sarah and thought, "Oh, that would be a good fit," and Sarah's already in the pocket.
Turns out it is.
Yeah, I sent that to Sarah. She was very happy. But
that's terrific.
It's just, I'm lucky that there's certain things that just make my music work. Zoe Ellis's voice and Lynette's keyboards and Sarah's background vocal arrangements and like all those, Errol Cooney's guitar, those things just like I don't like telling people what to play.
Mm-hmm.
I like calling the people for what they do because I know they're going to bring me something different than what I'm thinking, but still.
And it's going to be magnificent.
Yeah. So all I have to do is just, stir the soup and let Cam do his thing with the mix, and we're good.
Make a little room.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just got a text message from our friend Derek Jones.
What's up, Mr. Jones?
So I just want to acknowledge that because anytime I hear from Derek Jones, it brightens my day.
He introduced me to my favorite restaurant in Benicia.
Which restaurant was that?
Oh, the Workshop.
Oh, of course.
That's my home.
And Derek came here and introduced you to the Workshop?
He was in town visiting some family. He goes, I heard about this new restaurant. I want to take you to. I'm like, restaurants in Benicia. Yeah, that place and the owners of that place. Danny and Naomi are 2 of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life.
They are beautiful, beautiful human beings. Danny's been on the show a couple of times. We are big fans of his cooking and big fans of him and big fans of her as well. Yeah. So also my favorite restaurant in Benicia. I hope I don't piss anybody off, any other restaurateurs in Benicia, but he makes everything fresh down there. So I don't mind plugging him all day long.
I've had him do a couple events.
Cater stuff.
My son got married. He catered that wedding.
All right.
Have something at the house. Man, get Danny over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they have a great love story as well. So
yeah, they went to together or something.
What's that?
Didn't they go to high school together?
They did go to high school together. and then they reunited at a high school reunion. You know,
Wow.
Danny went to New Orleans right after high school, and then after Katrina, he left town for a little while and found himself in Colorado, and their reunion came up. So he decided, since this was the closest he had been to Benicia since he graduated from there, he ought to go to that reunion. And when he went there, he and Naomi met again and rekindled an old flame. So,
and see, it was meant to happen.
Great story, meant to happen. Great food, and so yeah. If you guys don't know about the workshop, go eat at the workshop. I get the oyster po' boy. That's my jam. Although
I can't do oysters, but
there isn't anything there that I don't eat.
No, they made me like things I don't even like the roasted vegetables. Like, yeah, I don't know. But
yes, for a while when I went vegan, I went vegan. I went vegan for my health and to get John Sally on the show. And so during that month when I went to the restaurant, Naomi said, "No, don't worry, I got you," because she's a vegetarian. So she fed me the roasted vegetables, and they were spectacular.
I don't know how she can be a vegetarian working around him.
Me neither.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
Yeah. And then, well, let's see. We got on this subject. It's funny. This became a podcast about Danny Glassmaker and the workshop. But we got on the subject because of Derek Jones. Derek Jones introduced me to a lot of things, a whole lot of things, man. I know my life is much richer in many, many ways because of Derek and Julie Jones. How did you and I meet? I'm curious, because now
I was trying to think of that. I want to say at.
Oh, I know how we met. At where? Go ahead.
Was it at Lucas?
No, it was at my house. You were brought to my house by Dave Agent.
Oh, wow. I didn't meet you before that?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
It feels like I've known you forever.
Yeah.
And even now that I think about it, even that day at your house, it was like, normally you go to somebody's house and it's all, but your house is very comfortable. You made everybody feel like, hey, come on and sit down, just relax.
Yeah. Well, I've also been, I've had the good fortune of having Dave Agent be my referral to people, and that always makes me comfortable too.
Yeah.
I mean, any friend of Dave Agent's. I haven't seen Dave in a while, and I hope he's doing well. I don't think I've seen him since the pandemic started.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to him. I think the last time I saw him was when I played. Wow, it would have been 4 years ago now, when I did the gig with Robin Ford in Sacramento.
Oh wow!
And he came and hung out with us. It was great.
Yeah, that guy, man, he's been such a huge influence. Hey, we just got a comment from Zoe Ellis. Speaking of Zoe Ellis.
Ellis?
Yeah. I had her dad on the show.
I saw
what a gem that guy is.
Yeah, he is.
That guy's a treasure.
He's the best.
Yeah. So, you know what? We've run the gamut as far as emotions on this episode, man. And like I said, I appreciate you enduring this conversation with me, because it's important. I think we should have it. We should have it with all of our loved ones. It's not going to be easy sometimes. And sometimes you're going to have to separate from people for a little while. But I hope that everybody has the good sense and the kindness in their heart to see the value of people, and to and let some new emotions in, and not be so guarded, and not be so worried about changing your mind because somebody's introduced you to a concept that might not be what your experience is, but to allow it to be valid because it's somebody else's experience. That's what I think that the song is going to do for some people. I hope it does it for a lot of people. And thank you for pouring your heart out the way that you did in those lyrics, and for allowing us an opportunity for an education. It's something so important.
Thank you. I thought about a question you asked me a few minutes ago, and I said I didn't know the answer to it. And you said, how are we going to get out of this situation? Like, how are things going to turn around?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the screen and a picture of Zoe and Lily popped up. And I thought, oh, that's how we're going to get out of it. Lily is 11 years old.
Yeah.
And the kid is brighter and smarter and more compassionate than any grown-up I know. And she's not the only one. And when I see kids from that generation looking at adults going, what are you guys doing? This is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me think they're watching us and they're paying attention and they're taking notes and they're not, you know, it, and unfortunately may not happen on our watch.
Yeah.
It will happen, and it will be because of kids like that. And kids like that exist because of their parents. You know, Lily exists because Zoe is the mom that she is. Zoe exists because of the way her parents are. It's like it starts in the family. You know, I tell people all the time, I wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for my mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So every good thing I am is because of that woman. So, you know, family is one of the things that's been kind of diluted and destroyed in a lot of ways. But when you have a strong sense of family, and it doesn't matter what it is, you know, family doesn't look the same for everybody. You know, it could be blended, it can be whatever, but it's about knowing that there's a person that cares about you and has your best interest and can communicate with you. Just, you know, I think that's one of the most important things in the world.
Well, you know, when you talk about family influence, that's also been part of the problem, unfortunately, because, you know, racism, bigotry, that stuff is handed down. So what I'm hoping is that there are enough folks like Lily who can have an influence on their friends, who can see things at home. And like you said, call us out on our bullshit, you know, because kids are inherently smart and we tend to ruin them.
Yeah. And
so a lot of times when you have an example like your mother's, hey, I'm glad that she did a lot of great things for you. There are a lot of my friends, a lot of your friends, I'm sure as well, if you think about it, who made it as human beings almost in spite of their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that, you know, that Lily has influence and that other kids like her have influence on their friends. And our generation, you know, unfortunately, you're right. It might not be on our watch, but I am also hopeful for the future based on kids like Lily. And there are a lot of kids, you know, there are a lot more mixed kids now than there ever have been. So I think that just by virtue of the fact that more people are going to relate to others' experiences because they have half of, you know, their own DNA comes from somewhere else, where they can say, hey, that's my experience too. Maybe the next generation corrects us.
Okay, you with this light. What's going on here?
I don't know, but we can hear you. What were you thinking?
I think it's also part of why you know, there are more mixed people, there are more minorities. So I think there are some white people that are fearful of becoming the minority and what they think is going to happen to them based on how they've treated other people, you know. And it's really, people just want to be treated fairly and just, you know, it's not all about getting even, you know. It's really about getting level, you know?
Yeah, but there are a lot of people who can't accept that either. I mean, there has been a hierarchy of power in this country that some people just feel is the natural order of things, and they can't accept that, hey, we're all the same. And if they're this hierarchy that they were born into, the thing that probably bothers me the most is, you know, like you said, there's a sentiment now that it's okay to not be kind. and that a lot of this sentiment is coming from a part of the country where, and I'm generalizing enormously here, and I realize that, but there are a lot of people who are too poor, too, just like everybody else, to feel like, and this is one of the arguments too that you hear from folks who, like I said, I'm generalizing, but a lot of, if there are white folks who say, hey, this, there isn't racism like there used to be. And, when they're making excuses for whatever's going on and the fact that we don't, for some reason, feel like we have to be kind to people anymore, I think like, you're not even, this isn't in your best interest.
No.
It's in that whole segment's best interest that we all get in it together, because they're more like us than they are like the ruling class. So any attachment that they have,
I think a lot of times it's more important for them to feel superior to the people that they think are less than them. You know what I mean? So it's not that they don't want to have it. They don't want us, so they'll vote against their own best interest. And, again, that's overgeneralizing in some situations, but it's also spot on in others.
Yeah. Well, hopefully our generation will not have a grip on that for forever, and that the next generation does better.
Well, I want to see us make it to November and have there be a stark change in the world from that point, because otherwise I'm going to be Canadian.
Well, I'm sure you're going to need new neighbors, so I may see you up there.
It's all good. I've already got my exit strategy worked out. Get me a bunch of big leather coats and say A at the end of every sentence.
Yeah, that climate's going to take some getting used to.
No, you're going to leave the house 6 months of the year.
I've seen some parts of Canada that are really beautiful, though, and I've experienced some Canadian friendliness that I really enjoyed.
My wife is Canadian, and her family loves to tease me about the fact that I don't want to come up there when it's winter. I'm like, why would you? It's too cold.
What's to tease you about?
Yeah, it's like, I'm from Florida. I'm not like going up there to turn into a popsicle. It's not my deal.
That's a great time for them to come and visit you.
Yeah. And they just want to hang out, and it's all good. The good people.
Yeah. Well, hey, our hour is coming to a close. I want to tell our listeners that there's a link at the bottom of the screen there, and if you want to just grab that link and go there, sign up for the Agape Soul mailing list. You're not going to get anything from that mailing list that you're not going to appreciate, believe me. And then when you do, you're going to get the opportunity to have a free download of the new song Bulletproof that drops tomorrow, and that download will be free. So,
and tell them about the cover art. That's one of my favorite parts of
it. Yeah. So the cover art, I posted a picture of you on the thing, but I meant to put the cover art up there, because take a look at that. That's on the website as well. Take a close look at that cover art. A close look.
I got to give big props to my boy Mick Waller from Mick Waller Designs, who does all my graphic designs, done all my album covers, and he's just brilliant. And I told him, like, I don't know what you're gonna do after this, because between the Conversations cover and this,
how does he have anything left in the tank?
I don't know. He sent it, and this, I think he sent me 4 designs. He sent me the first 3, and they were all pretty good. And then he goes, "Oh, hang on a second, I got one more," and he sent that to me, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Wow. That was a hit. I think he was waiting. I think he was setting you up, because that was a big one.
He's sneaky like that.
Yeah.
All right. And the best thing about it is, people are like, "Oh, how did you come up with that?" I didn't have shit to do with it. I just, I sent him the music, and that was all on him.
And the concept and everything.
Yeah.
Tell us his name one more time.
Mick Waller.
Mick Waller. Thank you, Mick Waller. And thank you, Darryl Anders. Everybody, it's Agape Soul. So go see their website. Go sign up for the mailing list. Go consume all the content. It is all top notch. It is all spectacular. Some of it will make you think. Most of it will make you feel good. Everything will make you feel something, and everything will teach you something. And so I appreciate your work. I've loved your work from the very first note that I've heard.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being in my life, sir.
Thank you. The feeling is quite mutual, sir.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.